Hello, everyone. It's Nicole here from ClinicSense. Thank you so much for joining us for our Lunch and Learn today. Today we've got a nice, juicy, interesting one, something different. We're going to dig into how you can run your practice with confidence. So basically how you can set up your business in such a way that you have the tools, the systems, and the processes in place that streamline your day-to-day admin. This will help you stay organized, on top of your business, and hopefully will free up loads of your time. For anyone who is not familiar with ClinicSense, here is the deal. ClinicSense is your all-in-one practice management solution, and it is their mission to help you run and grow a successful business. What makes ClinicSense unique is how easy it is to use, and of course, all the tools and features available to simplify running your business. We will cover a little bit of them later on in the talk today. And of course, on top of all that, they have incredibly fast and friendly customer support. They are the best. Your charting is easy, fast, and customizable, and HIPAA and PIPEDA compliant. Scheduling is simple for both you and your clients. Invoicing, payments, and reporting tools help you stay on top of your finances. And then the sweet spot, the marketing tools will help you build and maintain really strong relationships with your clients. This helps to increase your client retention, manage your online business reputation. If you're not a customer and you are intrigued to try it, let me know in the comments. We do have a 14-day free trial, and I'll send you a link. Alrighty, let's get into it. I am so happy to introduce our guest speaker, Jen. She's going to take us through what you can expect from today's chat and a little bit more about herself. Jen, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me. So I'm Jen. I am the founder of Boleto OBM. I'm an online business manager. That's what OBM stands for. So I basically help my clients kind of get things running a little bit more smoothly behind the scenes. It's sort of like a director of operations. I feel like that's a better known title, or a COO, chief operating officer. But basically, I help you get your stuff together behind the scenes to get things running more efficiently, more smoothly, and give you back your time. So that can be time that you want to put back into your business. That could be time that you want to use for yourself, personal time, better work-life balance. You name it, but I help you kind of get back that time by getting things running a bit more smoothly. So I'll tell you a little bit about my experience and how I ended up in this role. I worked in the pharmaceutical advertising industry for 20 years now. And I worked as a project manager and a regulatory manager. So I have a bit of a background, if we're talking, following regulations. I know many here are probably interested in at least being HIPAA compliant. Things like that is something I have some experience with. And basically it was a nice transition when I wanted to begin to work for myself to take on this role and just, sort of help clients with that sort of thing. It really makes me feel, coming from corporate where it's always like rush, 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 do everything. It's all about work. It's not much about a work-life balance, at least in my experience. It really now brings me joy to sort of help practitioners, to take that time back and have a sense of calm and efficiency, and everything's still working smoothly, working great, but it's not sort of a stressful situation or a chaotic situation. So what I would love to talk about with all of you today is 6 simple steps to streamline your workflow. So we'll go through those. I'm going to talk about SOPs and how simple SOPs and automations can transform your client experience. It can really make things easier on the client side. It can also really make your day very much easier. So the effects on both there. I'm going to give you some automation tips that little by little will give you back your time. It can help you save up to hours each week. And really, if you're at a point where you're feeling a sense of burnout, it can really help with that. And then finally, how to utilize tools like ClinicSense and some others to help you feel more in control, help you have a hub and a structure to support you.
Amazing. Lots to get to, and I'm really excited. This is so cool for, I got to say, just to jump in, it's really cool for to have someone coming in for wellness practitioners with this kind of stuff, because you don't learn this, when you get into the business and you don't really have your business hat on. So very grateful to see behind the scenes of someone with your background for little tips and tricks. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, and you're right. I think that's a good point. A lot of times, health and wellness practitioners, your zone of genius is possibly something else, right? You're there to heal people. You're there to bring your expertise from either a medical perspective, a holistic perspective. So I think a lot of times the business end of things is something that kind of comes with the territory. So, exactly, if you're sort of feeling like this, maybe you're feeling just a little bit overwhelmed. You're feeling like a bottleneck. You feel like all things kind of stop at you, and then they move forward and it slows things down. If you're feeling like you have subscribed to ClinicSense already, or even, other tools, and you're feeling just sort of overwhelmed by that, as opposed to, okay, this tool feels like my helper, this tool feels like my right arm that I can't live without. If this tool is feeling like another thing on your to-do list, like that's not what you want, what we'll talk about today will be really helpful for you. If you're afraid of, just sort of feeling burnout because things are really busy, maybe I had a client recently, her massage business was going amazing. She had been in business for going on 30 years. Okay. Needed no help finding clients, needed no help with marketing, nothing like that. But she was just sort of feeling like, number one, I want to start getting into being a thought leader and getting things, from a training or content creation standpoint going in my business. And also, I don't know for how long I'm going to be able to do the physical aspect of, she's a massage therapist. I don't know for how long I'm going to want to do the physical aspect of my work. So I need to sort of get things more streamlined to start running more efficiently so that I can focus on other things. I need time. Like right now, I have no time to do those things. So it could also be, you're looking for a shift in priorities.
Yeah,
Or an
totally. And
additional priority.
yeah, and it's skills you can take beyond, because as massage therapist, you worry about the emotional energy, physical energy, your joints, things. So this is amazing tools to have in your toolbox.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you touched on a little bit of your background, but
I did. Yeah, so basically this is that I gave you guys my background. I transitioned to doing my business full time about a year ago. And yeah, like I said, it really just kind of brings me joy to give, to bring all that experience that I have. Corporate's like really rigid. It's really, especially if we're talking about in the pharmaceutical industry, it's rigid. There's not, there's not a focus on a work-life balance. Some people can make it happen. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's not something that we're sitting in meetings talking about how to do like we're doing today, right? So, that it really brings me joy to help people that are sort of in a situation where they need more of that, to get the tools in place where you can find that like sort of calm.
oh, my mind's at peace.
Absolutely.
Just a quick reminder to anyone that's jumped in. We had a few people jump in to the chat since we started. If you have any questions throughout, please put them into the comment section. We will keep an eye on it there. Or if you have any comments, or how about just a quick wave to anyone that's watching, we'd love to hear from you. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. What do we need? You can define all the systems, processes, SOPs. What are these?
Yes. Okay. So these are terms that I feel like get thrown around pretty often. And a lot of times I have calls with clients or even potential clients, and they're just say to me, like, I'm not sure what's what, or what are we talking about here? So I want to start with this just to kind of level set and have a baseline for us. So what's a system? A system is basically the structure that supports you, your business, and the way you do things, right? So these are tools that can be a tech tool like ClinicSense, that can be a piece of paper, if you're using paper forms, that can be whatever tools you use to support your business and the resources that you use to execute your tasks, okay? Process. So process is actually what you're doing. It's the series of steps that you take for a specific outcome, right? So every time a patient comes in, they sign in, maybe they have to fill out a form, they go into a treatment room, someone then cleans the treatment room afterwards. That whole step-by-step of what you do to achieve all the things that you do in your business is called your process. And then finally, SOP, and I think maybe this is the one that's sort of the most elusive to people. SOP is the standard operating procedure. So that's just simply a detailed written documentation of your process. Okay, so it's step-by-step instructions that anyone can look at and carry out whatever task, the SOP is about.
Amazing. And for people who are starting out from the basics, especially when it comes to SOPs, I know I used to, when I was first introduced to it as a manager of a spa, I was like, okay, now I needed to, it just restructured the way I thought about everything, rather than just knowing and assuming I'd go on autopilot to have it all written down. Where do you advise someone to start?
I would say to take time, like take some quiet time and just think about, okay, what are the main day-to-day things that I do? If you're a massage therapist, it's going to be the process of seeing patients. What happens before a visit, what happens during a visit, and what happens after. But that can be applicable to various if you're a physical therapist, you might have a similar situation. If charting is in there somewhere, just the things that you do most repetitively, that you do most frequently, that are the things that you do most frequently that are repetitive is definitely where you should start.
Cool. And I guess all of this, you're putting this all in place to make everything easier for yourself. So this takes us quite nicely into simplifying your workflow. Once you've got those, your head wrapped around what they are, how do we go about simplifying the process?
Yep. So how do we simplify our workflow? The first thing that I'm going to say needs to be done is to map out your process. So what does that mean exactly? That means take some time to actually write it down or type it down or whatever your personal sort of the way that you take your quiet, again, our quiet time, and just write down sort of what you're doing. So what exactly happens? Okay, a patient comes in. They sign a sign-in sheet, or maybe they have, maybe you have something electronic on a tablet that they have to go through. Their forms are checked. Map out everything that happens. What happens after a visit? What happens, what do you do monthly? Do you do any sort of social media work? Do you do any kind of, thought leader? Do you have a newsletter? Do you do, I don't know, whatever you do on a regular basis, not just daily, but also think weekly, monthly, and quarterly, and literally write it down. Okay. Once you have that, that brings us to step number 2. Decide if you need any tech systems. So if you write down, billing is probably something that comes into play either monthly or quarterly. If you find that you're doing something manually that you could use a tech system for, or if you see a hole, usually when you start to do this, holes sort of jump out at you at that point, right? So take a look at those holes and decide, is a tech system something that could, basically fill that hole or make that particular process more streamlined. If we can move on to number 3, have SOPs. Okay, so I know a lot of times, and I think this comes into play a little bit more for solo practitioners, people think that it's a time, it takes additional time to have SOPs. And I'm here to promise you, it does not, it will not, if they're done correctly. You will love them. I will convert you. Have SOPs. So have it written down how things need to happen, at least for your basic, if you're a massage therapist, at least for the patient entering, having the visit and exiting. And I encourage you also, though, for the things that you do a little less frequently, especially quarterly tasks, like taxes is actually a great example. Yeah, even if you are solo, it will help you and it will save you time to not think back. Okay, how did I do that? Did I remember every single thing? What are all the things that I have to do in order to accomplish this task? When you have it all written out there for you, you can very quickly just do the things. That's something I'll focus on as we talk. Instead of taking time to think about what I have to do, to write it down, to get organized, to make a plan for the week, etc. When you can just sit down and start to do the thing, it's going to really save you a ton of time. So that brings us into number 4. Have a task management tool or system. And I'll also explain this one a bit more, but basically something that's helping you to not sit down and try to figure out what you have to do every single day. It's that place where you can house all the tasks that you need to do and just have that be, sort of a bit more organized for you and have a bit of a structure there. The next thing is to utilize your tech tools to their full potential. So I often have conversations with people, and the general consensus is, okay, I have this tool and I'm using it maybe just for my task list, but it could do about 5 other things. Or I have this tool and I'm using it just for the scheduler, but I can also do XYZ in there, but I haven't taken the time to figure that out because it's just a bit too time consuming for me. So I do encourage you to take that time, even if it's just a little, I help clients with time blocking often, even if it's just, a little chunk of your time. Take the time and start to step-by-step use your tools to their full potential, because it's really, if you're not, and especially if you're paying for them, it's a missed opportunity. And then finally, utilize automations. So automations, and again, I'll touch on this a bit in the future, but automations will be something that works, something inside of your tech tool that'll just help you do some things automatically without you having to manually do them. So those are the steps that can really sort of, once you put them in place, really streamline things.
It is one of those things, I guess, that you have to make the time to save the time in the future.
Absolutely. It is a bit of a time investment up front, but I guarantee and I promise once you have these things going, it'll be so worth it, because you'll save time in the end. And also you'll feel so much better. You'll feel so much better when you're not like, oh, is this working? Oh, do I have to do this? Or, okay, what do I have to do today? When you're not like sort of in that reactionary mode, when you're proactive, you'll feel a lot better.
Yeah. If we jump back to mapping out your process, you mentioned the holes will start to jump out at you, or the problems that you need to solve. Do you have examples of the kind of thing that a wellness professional might find? What kind of things
Like,
could they see as something that process or a tool or a task management tool could help them with?
I think I often see come up as an example the scheduler. A lot of folks aren't using a scheduler or are sort of like partially using a scheduler. So they'll have it set up, but then as folks, maybe leave the office after an appointment, or, at some part of the process, sometimes people aren't participating in using that online schedule. They're, making a phone call or asking the practitioner. I think that's one where you immediately, number one, notice that hole because you're the one receiving the calls, or you're the one sort of doing the manual scheduling. I think that hole jumps out pretty quickly that way. And I think that's one that's also sort of an easy, like a quick ROI, let's say, return on investment, right? Once you get that scheduling set up, you really quickly will reap the benefits of having that time freed up. So I think that's a pretty basic. I think billing is another one that comes up a lot that I see. Follow up for billing, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I guess when you're going through what's taking up all your time and you realize you can use something that does it for you, it does start to jump. You're talking about tools to or tech to integrate, and you don't really want to invest too much, or will it take a bit of an investment financially at first? How do you decide what to choose?
Well, I think that a lot of tools out there have free versions. So I think it's something that, and I realize that you're not going to, if you have a practice, you're not going to dive in, you're not going to get all the patients' names added to a system. But if you have a free trial and you maybe, put one or two people in there, or if you can, set up a dummy situation, an example situation, free trial is a great way to just get in there and get your feet wet and see if you like it. I think that another way to look at it is if you need to make an investment, that's another reason why you want to certainly make sure that you're utilizing the tools to their full potential. And I think that when you start to map out your process, when you see that hole, even if you decide, and I encourage folks to make this like a quarterly exercise, right? To sort of take a look at your process. Once you've mapped it out, let 3 months go by, go back and look at your map again. And when you start to notice that hole, that thing that starts eating at you, if you think every time you look at it, like, I'm not using the scheduler, but that, that really is taking up my time. And then as you work day to day, that'll be in the back of your mind. And once something starts sort of repetitively, giving you that thought, I think at that point is a good time to at least give it a solid try. So if something, I'm not sure what tools, of course, can go from a free forever version to like absolutely super, super expensive. So, I mean, I think it's also a matter of, finding what works for you, what your level of comfort is. We'll talk about task management tools. And I think that sometimes it's a matter of like, do I want one that's super, super robust? Is there maybe a simpler version? Is there maybe something that's a step down? And then if you like that, you can shift.
Yeah, start simple and work your way up.
Yeah.
You start to get used to the process of organizing yourself. I think it can be a little bit addictive. Like, oh, this is
yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
As far as I just quickly want to pick your brain. As far as mindset of the clients that you've had, for someone struggling to get organized to wanting to be more organized but feeling overwhelmed, is there any advice you have for people who are struggling with the mindset or like overcoming any like fear or feelings of overwhelm?
Yeah, I think that the best place to start is to just give yourself, like, if you're in that mode as you're working, the middle of your workday is not the time to be thinking about these things. I would say take an hour, like if that's, and again, like what kind of person are you? Are you a morning person? If that's an hour on Monday morning before you even go into the office or something, take a minute, think about these things, regroup, and just try to figure, where can I start to make some changes? Or do I need support? It could also be like, do I need to get some help? Do I need some support? That's not a tech tool, that's a different thing. Or when you start to identify your problems, I almost feel like the solution sort of almost comes a little bit more naturally that way. So I say take some time away from the busyness, away from the feeling of overwhelm when you're not feeling that way, and just kind of sit down and contemplate things and figure out what the next best step is. I think it's important to always, especially if you're having maybe some mindset, if you're struggling a bit with the mindset of things, what's the next best step that you can do? You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to buy your new system tomorrow. You don't have to make all the changes right away. But what's the next best step that you can do?
Amazing. I love it. Just a quick reminder again for anyone watching, if you have questions, let us know how you feel about tools and systems to get organized. Do you have feelings of overwhelm? Let us know.
Yeah, I would love to know if anyone's feeling that way.
Yeah. I know I can relate so much to that. So I'd be keen to hear if anyone else in the industry feels the same way. All right. So shall we move on to SOPs? I know it's wrapping your head around why you need like a tech program, something to organize your booking, organize your emails is easy to understand, but shall we dig into SOPs? Why is it important for us to have them?
Yes, absolutely. So depending on your practice, they are important for various reasons and they can serve you in different ways. So if you have a team, meaning other practitioners, meaning assistants, meaning anybody other than yourself, it can really help with seamless training and seamless onboarding. So one thing I want to sort of backtrack a bit and say is an SOP should be done well, right? An SOP should not be like a big long thing that you don't want to show anyone or you don't want to look at yourself. It should be a concise, usually a bulleted list, maybe some quick videos in there. If you have videos, I'm talking a minute, 2 minutes, just to walk through something that's more visual, lends itself to visual screenshots. But it should definitely be something that's easy to look at and something you want to look at. It should be like, okay, I'm sitting down to do this task and oh, here's my guide. Here's my here's my friend here helping me along my way. It should not feel like, oh my gosh, I have to search through this big long document or I have to read for 15 minutes before I get started. So it should lend itself to seamless training. When a person comes on to help you, it should feel good to say, okay, here's your packet, here's your SOP. This is what's going to happen every time you need to do X, you follow this SOP. And that being said, on the flip side, for a solo practitioner, it should be like a great reminder. It should be like a quick, okay, 1, 2, 3, and you've completed your task. It should also help you to, as I touched on before, help you to not think about what you have to do all the time, right? It should help you just start the doing portion of the of the day. And by nature of the work that we all sort of do as practitioners, you have a lot of repetitive tasks, right? You see people again and again. You probably have to reach out to people again and again. You schedule often. You follow up. You have billing. You have marketing. You have all these things that you probably do on a regular basis. So it's a good thing to have also for consistency. Yeah, so it should, like I said, as I said, it should just feel like a helpful tool that you can work with and you can give to someone and they can be, sort of hit the ground running. If you're hiring people, it's in your best interest, obviously, to get them up and running as soon as possible, right? You want your new person to be productive as soon as possible because you've just brought them on, you're beginning to pay them. So it helps in that sense too, to just sort of get things moving a little bit more quickly from that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, we have SOPs for, or I had as an esthetician, SOPs for, especially for facial treatments, because there can be a lot of steps and you need to know exactly how much product you're using. So you do the same thing every time, or at least the team is doing the same thing, offering the same to all the clients that come into the spa. So it makes so much sense to have SOPs for the way you're running the business so that everyone's kind of on the same page.
Yeah, from the client side too, right? If you're having people for a regular esthetician, like the same treatment every time, that I'm sure they're expecting this, that they get the same things every time. So they want to have the same experience each time if they buy that thing again, right?
Yeah, exactly. If someone's starting out with SOPs, hasn't done them before, where do you start? How do you start writing it up?
I have a template that I'll share with all of you. It's a Google Doc, and you can literally, it's a blank template that you can type right into. But basically, I would start with your simplest processes first to get, if you're getting your feet wet, to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, and just list, and then go back and read all the steps and, trim them, clean them up, make sure that you've included enough so that a person who doesn't know how to do this process can actually do it. But if there's anything extraneous, just remove that. Like everything doesn't need a lengthy explanation. It's just literally the steps. I also would encourage you to link anything that you can. So for example, if, step number 1 as the client comes is have them fill out, this history form, for example, link to that history form so that then anyone can, if someone needs more depth, if someone needs more context or that, something, a tool or a file or what have you, that's all there for them, but it's not all like bogged down in the SOP itself. So it's good to sort of have, everything a click away.
Amazing. Make it as easy as possible. I think that sounds like good advice for even a solo practitioner to write SOPs as if you're writing it for someone else. so that, you know, if even if your future you is going to read it, it's going to be easy to read, even if you have no idea if you're starting from scratch.
Yep, absolutely.
Alrighty, well, shall we dig into tools? I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Give the group a quick second if you have any questions so far about SOPs. Do you have your own SOPs? Have you done them before? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, I would love to know who's gotten their feet wet in SOPs so far.
Oh, and I'll share the SOP template with all of you afterwards. So keep an eye on the chat, and we'll share that with you there.
Okay.
All right. So shall we talk about tools?
Yes.
We touched on practice management, project management. What is the difference? What should we be using?
Absolutely. Yes. So ClinicSense is a practice management tool, as I'm sure we all know by this point. It works, if anyone's familiar with the CRM, that's another sort of type of tool. It's basically helping you manage your clients, patients, your business, your practice. Okay. A project management tool, or we can just call it simply a task management tool, is something that's helping you manage the tasks that need to get done in your business, right? So those are sort of two umbrellas, because if we think about a system like ClinicSense, you know, what do we have there? We have charts, we have the files for the patient name, like patient profile, we have charts, forms, marketing tools, we have all that stuff. Okay, but to use all that stuff, you know, to go into the marketing section of ClinicSense and add a birthday email, for example, there's, you know, steps, right? Where does that text come from? What's the copy? Is there a logo that needs to go in there? Who's writing that? Is someone needs to proofread that? All those tasks are something that you would manage in a task management or project management software. So that's the difference between the two. And I often see people sort of wanting one to do the other, or wanting to use one to do the other, just kind of wanting to mix the two. And I would always suggest, like, they are two separate things. They are two separate things. So it's nice to have, you know, your place for one and your place for the other, and they should work hand in hand. They should, in a perfect world, they should integrate and communicate. If that's, you know, if that's not happening, that's not a problem, but they're two things that are sort of two separate entities. So I will show an example of two types of project management or task management tools that I really like to work with. So I'll start with the simple. I'm going to share my screen. I'll start with the simple. The simple one's called AnyDo. Okay.
Perfect.
Can you see that? Okay. The simpler one's called AnyDo. And what this should do for you, or I'll give you sort of a criteria that I think any tool that you use should do for you. Any tool that you use should have multiple lists, right? So you should be able to have a list for patient processes. You should be able to have a list for your website. You should be able to have a list for whatever else, right? Separate lists. And then you should have due dates. It should have a functionality of due dates, right? I encourage people, every time you put a task into your task management tool or your project management tool, to give it a due date. Okay, and that's just so we're not putting something in and then we don't go back to that list for a while and then it's just floating off in the abyss. Give a due date, even if you know you're not going to make it, even if you know it's going to change in the future, give yourself a due date, because, segue, the other thing that I'm going to tell you that it should really have is something that gives you your view of what you need to do today. Okay, so if we're looking at this one, and this is my personal, I used actually this was just for personal things, so a little bit of behind the scenes in my life here. All these are lists: house closing, personal, baby prep. When you click on my day or something that gives you like your home screen or whatever, it should give you everything that you have to do that day. It should pull from all different lists. So it should say to you, okay, from my house closing list, I have to do X. From my website list, I have to do Y. From my personal list, I have to do Z. And those are all what's happening for today. So this is how you can really quickly and easily not spend a ton of time sitting down, figuring out, you know, if you're a paper person, pulling out all your papers and saying, okay, here's what I have to do today. And then like a half hour goes by. This is how you can see exactly what you have to do. And the due dates are not like I find like people get sort of freaked out by the due dates. You don't have to get freaked out by the due dates. You can shift them. You absolutely can shift them. But it's helping the system work for you, right? You have to give these systems the tools that they need and the information they need to work for you. So it's helping that sort of be compiled and give you that nice, clean, okay, here's what we're doing today. And you can go ahead and do that, or you can shift. You know, things happen, days shift, priorities shift. You can certainly move them around, but it's good to have a good place to start. So this one's really simple. This is a free version. Let's see. I have my Apple connected. You can connect calendars usually, so it's good to just sort of see things all like this. I will flip over now to a more robust version that I work in. This one's called ClickUp. This has a free plan. Let's see, I have a white screen here. I think I'm lagging a bit. Okay, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this one is a bit more robust. So this is where I do my social media planning for my own business. I'll show you guys, behind the scenes. I like to practice what I preach here. This one is super, super, super customizable. So you might like this, or this might be super scary, and either is okay. Quite frankly, there's the 2 tools that I show you, and there's about 25 in between that you can choose from. However, you can see, my features here. Due date. There's always a due date. This one's really customized. So we're talking social media content here, but you can, add any type of drop down, any type of tag, any type of things to sort of identify tasks. Now, the beauty of a more robust tool is this is one list, but you can view it in different ways. So I will quickly just show, for example, the calendar view. So this is the same list. If I have the same 5 posts on this list, you're going to see the same thing in list form or in calendar form. But when you go into calendar form, if you're trying to figure out timing for something, if you have to do a website update or even, physical things also work well here. If you have to do some sort of, if you're restructuring your office, if you're redesigning your office, all these to-do tasks can be simply dragged and dropped like this onto a calendar. So it's easy to not pile up too much on a day. And now you can make for yourself an instant timeline. Everything on the right is unscheduled. Everything on the calendar is scheduled. So just by that drag and drop that I just did, the due date for that was set to Thursday, the 7th. So it's a really easy way to sort of visually get things organized. I'll show you another really cool thing that I love about ClickUp. I get a little too into this sometimes. There's a dashboard view. So if I click over to this one, I apologize, this is lagging for me just a bit.
Okay.
But when you go into view, the dashboard view, there's these little cards and they do different things, but they pull from your list and it basically gives you a live dashboard of what's happening. So if I look at my overdue tasks, that's things that I have to either do something with or they're scheduled to post. 215 live posts. All this is powered by the list that I'm working on in the list view. So that's where I work from. That's where, when I'm planning my social, that's literally where I'm working. Like that's what I'm doing anyway, regardless. Now I have this that I can flip to. I can see how many posts of each type are here by percentage. And once you set this up, it's literally automatic. So I can flip over here and see this at any point in time, see how many posts I need to record analytics for, see how many I have scheduled, see how many are still in the ideas phase. You can add a calendar here as well. I can see what's coming up in the posting soon area. But basically, this is all done for me. This is a great thing. I'm not sure if practitioners have the need for this depending on what kind of stuff that you do, but it's a great thing to give this to your clients, right? This can be a live on demand for my clients when I'm working on something for them, a setup. I give them something like this, and then that's always real time. What's going on? What do we still have to do? What's outstanding? What do I need from you? I put a little list when I do this for a client. I'll put a list there. Okay, here's XYZ that I'm waiting on from my client, Mrs. Smith, and then as things are delivered, they're checked off. So then that client always can see what they need to give me, or kind of where things are at any moment in time without even waiting for a response from me.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's a nice time saver. It does, and like all these things, right? It's a bit of a time investment up front. You do have to set this up, but once you set it up, as you're working, it's working on its own. Yeah.
Have you seen with any of your wellness practitioners, in particular massage therapists? I think we have a wide range of practitioners in the group, but there are majority massage therapists. Have you worked with any massage therapists with these kind of tools? What did they like? What did they use? How did they find them?
Well, so it depends a lot on the person. Some people, I set this up regardless and I leave it. I basically give it and I leave it. If you want to look at it and use it, that's great. If not, I'm happy to work with you in the way that you want to work. I find that the people that are open to it, I have a client coming to mind in particular that was basically like, I don't know how to do tech. She did everything on paper. She was taking her own appointments over the phone and writing them down in a planner. She got ClinicSense and she wasn't using it. So the first thing I did with her was a strategy session. The second was to set up her ClinicSense. So in the strategy session, we figured out everything that was, sucking away her time. Number one, of course, was that getting that schedule up and running, because she was taking phone calls all the time, like trying to work and doing phone calls at the same time. So I set this up for her and I said, listen, if this doesn't make you comfortable, do not do it. This is not homework. This is not anything to add to your long list of stuff that you do all the time. And by the end of our time together, she liked it. It was basically a link that she had to go to and look at it. And I explained to her her little portion. I also put in a video walkthrough. So if she ever forgot, what was going on. So I think that it can be well received by everybody. If it's just not for you, personal preference, like that's totally fine. However, I think that if you're a tech person, you probably like it right off the bat. But I think that if you're not a tech person and you sort of have someone helping you and showing you what to do, it still turns out to be something that's well received.
It is helpful to know that there's a guide available to just talk someone through just the beginnings. This is what it does. This is what it's for, and this is how it looks. And this is what because to see this visual representation with the graphs and stuff, I love that. I feel like it makes it very easy to see, okay, this is what I've done, this is what I got to do. So it's cool to see just, a daunting spreadsheet full of 100 things to do.
Yeah.
Yep. Amazing. Shall we move on to just listening to your client that finally took on some tools and systems and ClinicSense as well to try and free up some time? Shall we talk about how that helps exactly? And what I mean is automation. What can we do? What more can we do? Less of setting it up once for us.
So I'll stop sharing so we can see each other better. So let's talk about automations. I love automations, and I think I'm going to again start with the thing about it that I think kind of scares people off sometimes, is that it will take away that personal touch, right? And I think that, I don't know that I've necessarily heard this from people specifically, but I think that if we're talking health and wellness providers, that's so important, right? Your personal touch, the way you do things. I could probably go to a ton of people for a massage, but I go to my massage therapist, or I go to my chiropractor, comes to mind for me. I go to my chiropractor because he takes such good care of me, and I couldn't live without him, to be frank. I have scoliosis and I could not live without him. So, I think that when you hear the word automation, sometimes people are like, but just hear me out, okay? They can work for you, and you don't have to lose your personal touch. I sort of like coined the term partial automations. You can set things up to even just be ready for you to work on. If we're talking about an email, you can set it up so that you can pop into your email, just write what you need to, and then it'll send, right? As opposed to like, okay, let me flip from ClinicSense to my Gmail. Let me open up an email. Let me find this person's email address. Okay, now I write the email, send. Okay, back to ClinicSense. And I have some numbers for you that we'll talk about of how much time that actually takes. But I want to start with, don't worry that it's going to make things not personal or take anything away from what you're doing or your level of care in any aspect. So the first thing that I think is great to automate is appointment scheduling, right? So the ClinicSense scheduler is great. Get that incorporated into your website. It can be the different treatment types. It can be the different practitioners. All the options can be there, right? So that's something that that's where I always start with people. If you're not doing that already, I think that's a great place to start if we're talking automations. Another thing that's great to automate is lead nurturing. So we can call that marketing. I actually saw that you guys changed or kind of rebranded the marketing to communications, client communications, right? That's a great thing to automate. Who has the time to remember the last time that you contacted patient so-and-so? Like, who can remember that? So it's great to have something set up to just automate that. Even, I use a task management tool for lead nurturing a bit, but all it does for me is say, okay, you haven't contacted this person for 45 days. That's all. It just bumps them up to the top of the list. And then I take a look there. I leave notes in there about, what we've last talked about or what we need to do or whatever. But they come back, 45 days have passed. Okay, here's what we talked about last. And then it's all ready to go. Then I can write my communication or my DM or however we've been communicating. And it just all happens a lot more quickly. Of course, there's the parts of the system, birthday, reviews, all that great stuff. All those communications can be automated, but it's still you writing the email. It's still you communicating, right? So you just have something sort of helping you along the way from a timing standpoint. I think another great thing to automate is client onboarding and any maintenance, right? So I have, I'm thinking back to another client. that had something with the insurance. Now it's slipping my mind exactly what it was, but they basically needed a form signed every 6 months to have the patient be able to bill back to the insurance for the treatment. So obviously for everybody, that's a different date. And if you have something like that automated, just send back an email to them like, hey, please complete this form. Then you don't have to think about it. And you can just open up, if you use ClinicSense on your tablet, you can take a look at it, make sure all that's done as the person enters the room and, get started with the service. Another great thing to automate is employee onboarding, right? So if you hire a team member and you're using a project management tool that's customizable with automations, you can just sit that person down and say, hey, run through this task list. In every task, there's the training material that they need. You can drop in a video, you can drop in yourself explaining, what they need to do to clean a treatment room, for example. Quick and easy. They can go through and do that independently while you're working, theoretically, or even on their own time, however your process is set up to be. But that's something that can totally be done without your hands on. And then, of course, you can put your hands on, right? So they can come to you with questions. They can come to you with, be already well informed and ask you like great questions, like, okay, how do you prefer that this happens or whatever? But it's a great place to start for onboarding in your office, whether that's another practitioner or whether that's someone in the assistant type of role. Testimonial and referral requests are another I think is great. I think some people sometimes get a little hesitant to sort of ask for that, but ask for it. Like, why not, right? You're great at what you do. Yeah, you're great at what you do. Your clients and patients love you. Like, why not ask for that? No one's going to give it to you. People might give it to you without asking, but you have to ask for things that we want in life, right? So that's a great thing to sort of set up, get that going, get that out after a person's happy with the service that you just received. On the flip side, I'm talking about positives. How about no-show follow-up? How about payment follow-up when someone hasn't paid an invoice that's outstanding? All that stuff is great to automate. Some people feel uncomfortable following up from the billing standpoint, right? Let it sound automated. Let it sound like it's not even coming from you, right? Just let that go out and do the follow-up because you obviously deserve that payment. I know that you guys have the no-show. Remember the no-show. Yes. That's a great tool. That's a phenomenal tool. Everyone should be taking advantage of that. Yeah. So I wanted to, if we switch back to, no, let's leave it at that. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you hanging on that. I think those are great places to start with automations. I don't want to overwhelm everyone.
All right. So earlier you mentioned the time it takes to jump between program to program to program. I know you said you have had an article that you wanted to discuss that talks about the time it takes and what you should do about it. I'd love to hear a bit more. Let me share my screen and then we can get into it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. There we go.
Okay. So the Harvard Business Review did a study on the cognitive effort of basically switching from all the million tabs that a lot of us have opened on our devices every day. So they dubbed it, they coined the term sort of the cost of switching, right? So what does it cost you to go from your email to your ClinicSense to your task management tool to your Facebook to everything that you're working on throughout the day? So they did this study. They studied 20 teams, 137 users. This was done in 3 Fortune 500 companies for 5 weeks. And that gave them basically a data set of 3,200 days of work. So if you pop over to the next slide, we'll find out what that should teach us, okay? So the cost of switching, basically the cost of a switch. So the cost of one switch is a little over 2 seconds. So the average user in the data set switched nearly 1,200 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is insane.
After 65% of the switches, users toggled yet again 11 seconds later. So that's how we're probably arriving at the 1,200 switches per day, right? We're just kind of constantly doing this. And I bet a lot of people are doing it between computer and phone too. We're not just talking tabs within a browser, right? Okay, so what does that sort of net out to? That's 4 hours a week of reorienting yourself, or 5 weeks of the year. Right. So all these little things, all this to say, all of these little things really, really, really do add up. They really add up. So it can feel like a small shift in the moment, but at the end of the day, you can really sort of make a big, big difference, making a small, small change, which is great. That's really exciting.
Crazy perspective, that amount of time. Like you say, that it feels like such a small amount of time, a small amount of annoying time adds up to
Yeah.
That's
5 weeks
crazy.
of the year.
All right, I like to ask, we're coming close to the top of the hour. I like to ask my guests one question right at the end. If everybody who's watching forgets everything they learned, what is one key takeaway that people should remember?
Great. So I think that the things I want to leave you all with, if you forget everything else that I've said today, make time for streamlining your workflow. Take that hour at the beginning of the week, at the end of the week, in the morning, in the night, whenever works for you. Take that hour and make the effort to figure out where you need to make improvements to streamline things. I think I would also say, go ahead and start to create SOPs if you're not already doing that. And then finally, utilize the tools to the best of their ability. All the tools that you have, take advantage of everything that you've got already.
Amazing. For
Mhm.
anyone, if you have any more questions, now's your chance to ask. But while we wait for that, Jen, where can people find you? We need more information, we need help, we need SOPs, we need
Yeah.
guidance.
Yes. Well, I'll
We'll
share
find
my
you.
SOP template so you guys can literally hit the ground running with that. I am on Facebook. I'm in this chat, and sorry, in this group. So you can certainly reach out to me that way. I'm most active on Instagram in terms of sharing content. So I do lots of tips and tricks. I do client walkthroughs. I'm actually just freshly back from maternity leave. So I will pick this up again, but I was doing monthly live trainings on various topics. So monthly, sort of topic X, go through a little bit of what I want to say about it, hopefully get some feedback from the audience, talk through things if people have questions. Those are really fun. I will be probably in the new year doing those again. But Instagram is a great place to sort of interact and get a sense of sort of, the things that I would love to share with you. And then my website, if you're interested in support with any of these things. I think that part of sort of sitting down and mapping out your process and figuring out where you need help is figuring out, do you need support with anything? So my website gives you all the information that you need to learn about that.
Thank you so much for joining us. And
Of course,
we'll see you.
absolutely. Thank you for
We'll
having
see
me.
you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.